Facing the Mortgage Crisis, Stopping Scams is brought to you by NeighborWorks America and the Texas Foreclosure Prevention Task Force.
Hello, and welcome to Mortgage Crisis, Stopping Scams. I'm Purva Patel, a business reporter at the Houston Chronicle, and this statewide PBS program was created to help you avoid falling victim to false promises of mortgage modifications or foreclosure rescues. This program is a collaboration between Texas PBS stations, NeighborWorks America, and the Texas Foreclosure Prevention Task Force, a broad coalition of government agencies, businesses, and nonprofits that share the goal of helping Texans at risk of foreclosure keep their homes. Each month, our state sees thousands of foreclosure filings, and for each foreclosure, many more homeowners are at risk. Law enforcement agencies and consumer groups warn of an ever-expanding variety of scams that prey on people who are struggling to pay their mortgages. Today, we'll show you what to watch out for and where to turn for help. We've gathered a panel of experts to share their knowledge with you. You hear from Denia Kukulhan, the Dallas-based director of the Southwest Region of the United States Federal Trade Commission, Joyce McDonald, executive director of Frameworks Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit housing and financial literacy agency in Austin, and Yolanda McGill, senior counsel of the Fair Housing and Fair Lending Project for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law in Washington, D.C. But first, we want you to meet a couple who say they lost their savings to a mortgage modification scam, and now they fear losing their home.
It's been said that it takes hands to build a house and hearts to build a home. By that measure, the house Anna and David Zuniga bought 6 years ago in Austin is truly a place to call home. Filled with photos of loved ones, art from their grandchildren, and even family members who live right next door.
How exciting, because now they live next door to me. I have a grandchild and my son, and so I've got them right there close to me. Very convenient. Anytime I need to babysit, just walk them over.
It was the couple's second house and their first financial priority. Even after the Zunigas lost their full-time jobs, David to a medical disability, Anna to layoffs, they say they always made sure the mortgage was paid.
No matter how little money we've had, it's always been about the house first.
But money was tight, and an offer of help was waiting.
I would get probably about 30 phone calls a day from this place. And finally I said, I'm just going to answer it and see what they want. So I answered the phone. It was this gentleman, and he said, are you behind on your house payment? And I'm like, no. He said, well, would you like your payment to be lowered so that you could have extra money, to do with, whatever you might want to do? And we're like paycheck to paycheck, barely have money left over, So I was like, gosh, how nice would that be?
Anna says she was wary at first, but bit by bit, in a series of phone calls, began to trust what the caller was offering.
He even put a supervisor on the line to talk to me because I was asking a lot of questions. Here, let me talk to my supervisor. He'll tell you, And he's all like, he started talking to me. He started telling me the exact same things. And he said, you really don't have to worry about it. He said, we're here to help you. We're not here to help ourselves.
Anna says the help they promised was a loan modification, lower monthly payments, but only after the couple paid a one-time fee of $2,500.
And I said, well, as long as I don't have to make my house payment, then I can afford to pay y'all. But if I have to make my house payment as well, then it's not going to work out. And he said, oh, no, you don't have to make your house payment. He said, and you're not going to get in trouble. He said, well, you guys are paying too much. It should only be 33% of your income, what you're paying out to your house. I was excited.
But Anna says that excitement didn't last long.
Once the money was there, they stopped calling me. And so I started getting suspicious. I started calling them back. They had a website on the paperwork, so I went on the website, had nothing to do with them. I tried to fax them information. The fax number was disconnected. Their phone numbers were disconnected. There was one number that I would call that would just ring and ring and ring and ring. Nobody would ever answer it.
Experts say that's a common pattern. Promises made, money exchanged, and a contact who suddenly disappears.
And then when I realized that they had taken our money and that we'd never probably talk to them again, I came out crying. And I said, I think they took our money. I said, I can't get a hold of them. Their numbers are all disconnected. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do.
The Zunigas say they skipped 2 house payments based on the caller's promises. Now they're behind on their mortgage, and they're having trouble catching up.
So we were left with nothing, and then with the possibility of losing the house, that was even harder. I love my house. I love that my kids live next door, you know. I didn't want that to happen.
The Zunigas have filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office, and they're working with their lender and a no-cost HUD-approved housing counselor called Frameworks to get their mortgage back on track.
We can make the payments. That's not the problem, because we've been doing that until we got the phone call from that guy and we missed those 2 payments. At this point, with all the late charges and everything, it now adds up to almost 3 payments. So
Anna has hope that they can save their mortgage and a message for anyone who might prey on struggling homeowners.
I guess what I would say to them would be, you know, do you not have a heart? Do you not have a conscience? You know, because what you're doing to people is wrong. And I mean, you know, you make people sick, you make them stress, you make them, you know, not be able to trust other people. And it's just wrong. It's wrong. It shouldn't be that way.
Joyce, I'd like to start the discussion with you. Your organization helps families like the Zunigas and others in similar situations. What kind of toll do these kinds of scams take on families? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So when families come to visit with our organization and they've been scammed with a mortgage rescue situation, it's very disheartening. They are frustrated. It's a collaboration of various emotions. They're afraid, they're frustrated, they're not sure what's going to happen next. They really believe that they are going to lose their homes. They don't have the trust and the confidence to move forward, and they're really on their last leg. They're just right at the end of their rope, and it's a hard pill to swallow, to believe that you trusted an organization that gave a promise and didn't deliver, and now you could possibly be in a situation where you're, in some cases, homeless, have anywhere to go.
Do the homeowners who are more susceptible to something like this have any characteristics in common?
Yeah, the common fiber is that they want to keep their home, and they're willing to do whatever is necessary to make that happen. They will be willing to pay a fee. They'll solicit their financial information. They will work with the organization very closely, respond to phone calls. So the common factor is that they want to keep their home, and they're willing to do whatever is necessary to make that happen, because this is something that they purchased that they thought they would keep for the rest of their lives, or for as long as they decided that they wanted to live in this home. This is the home that they want to raise their kids in, or they want to grow old in, they want to retire. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep this home.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Dina, you try these types of cases. What can you describe what the common types of scenarios are out there, the common types of scams?
Bait and switch is one of those. That is, a mortgage relief company will advertise unbelievable rates or terms and conditions for a flat fee, and they just simply don't deliver on the promise. There are certain red flags that consumers should look for. Some of those would include if a mortgage relief company directs a consumer to stop contacting their lender. Another red flag would be if the mortgage relief company requires cashier's check or a wire transfer. Another red flag would be if the mortgage relief company requires a consumer to deed the property to it, or if they require the consumer to make the mortgage payment to them instead of to the lender. Or, I mean, here's one, if they pressure the consumer to sign documents without reading them, you know, here's the line to sign, and pressure them so that they don't read it or they don't understand.
So what are some of the kind of common questions if a homeowner gets a call, like maybe Anna did? What are some of the common terms they should look for, or things they can ask to make sure that it's not a scam and it is a legitimate offer?
We have a list of terms on our website, ftc.gov, that are lending or mortgage type terms that a consumer should familiarize themselves with so they can talk the lingo and ask the right questions. But I would encourage a consumer, keep asking questions until you have no more.
Yolanda, do these types of things, do they sound similar to what your organization sees across the country?
I have to say, unfortunately, yes. The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law has built a database of loan modification scam complaints. You know, it's a repository that unfortunately has complaints from every state in the union, all 50 states plus DC. We have over 7,000 reports in the database right now. We encourage people to report to us if they've been scammed, or if they have heard about a scam, if they got a mailer that looks suspicious, if they got a phone call that they thought was suspicious. So even if they were not necessarily victimized, because of course the more information that we have and we can collect, the more we can analyze that and get a good picture about what's going on, and we can make sure that enforcement authorities are informed about this. And you know, what we are seeing across the country is indeed that scamming is happening on many levels, and something that I think that a consumer can do to protect themselves is to work with a counselor, a HUD-approved housing counselor, and work with your lender. You should be suspect of any unsolicited offer to help. If you get something in the mail, even if it has a little crest on it that looks like it might be federal, a little eagle, a little equal housing opportunity thing that says Obama plan on it or something like that, you didn't ask for it, it's probably not a good idea to interface with that person.
Purva, just to add to what Yolanda said, there are many what we call look-alike government programs, and that the scammers will try to mirror the government programs for that very purpose, to deceive the consumer into thinking it is affiliated with the government. Beware and ask questions.
And I would also like to point out that we try to get an idea of who seemed to be the most susceptible to what types of approach, and it was our senior citizens who fell prey most often to this sort of the federal lookalikes when we look through the database.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, and Joyce might be able to speak to this too, but I mean, I think, you know, it's because of the mode of contact, because most likely those come through the mail, or they come through on early morning TV, and that's how seniors are most likely to be approached.
Seniors are very susceptible because if you're kind and you're polite and you're professional, they give you the benefit of the doubt that you can be trusted. And so they're very welcoming. They'll bring you into their home. They'll offer you lemonade. If you give them attention, they become susceptible. Going back to your initial question about what kinds of questions a consumer should ask, they should ask questions like, are you a government affiliated entity? Are you HUD affiliated? Consumers should go to hud.gov, hud.gov, to investigate whether the organization is a government affiliated organization. They should also call their lender or servicer to verify if this organization is legitimate.
Well, what exactly can an agency such as yours